This is not going to be much consolation for her to hear what I'm getting ready to tell you, but it is the truth. But in the early going, they want to accuse you of masking. Oh, it was all a fake job. You were a great con man. It was all pretend. No,
I heard that.
no, it was not pretend. He was not faking it. She was his special interest, maybe not the number one special interest. She was way up there in the top one or two of his special interest at that time. Everything that he said or did, all the affection, sex, compassion, grace, mercy, etc., emotional reciprocity, give and take in conversation, all of it was very authentic. Once the romantic phase ends and the settling in phase begins, where we're just back to the mundane, routine, day-to-day living again, and I still love her, I still value the marriage, but the romance phase is over. That's when he kind of, her being his special interest, it kind of declines. And now he spends more of his time with his true special interest. Also, the relationship gets more complicated. In the early going of the relationship, like I had mentioned to you at the top of the call, this lady that, well, when we were first dating, we'd go over there and get ice cream. In the early going, it's all fun and games and play. Once you get married and have kids and now have to work and pay the bills, it gets real complicated. And if you have ASD level 1, you're going to have some mind blindness and emotions blindness, and it's going to be hard to fire on all 8 cylinders if you don't have 8 cylinders. She's firing on 8. She's very intuitive. Her social and emotional intelligence is way up here. Her social and emotional skills and needs are also way up here. His are not. He does not have the same degree of emotional and social skills and needs as she does. And so that's a turnoff to her. And she thinks, well, you've kind of abandoned me. That's her download. You have abandoned me. You are emotionally unavailable. It's like living with a hologram. Well, that's very insulting. And that, by the way, that's her download. So your love hasn't diminished. Your respect for her as a person has not diminished. Your valuing the marriage has not diminished. What has diminished is your interest level in having high levels of emotional reciprocity and connection and give and take in conversation, and even sometimes sex kind of wanes after the years. So she takes, because he's doing these things that create distance, that's her download. You're not creating distance, she's perceiving distance. Because I'm downloading these behaviors in him as creating distance, therefore he doesn't love me, therefore I'm not important to him, therefore he doesn't really care about me, doesn't value the marriage, the work is more important to him than me. And these are all her downloads. But that's secondarily your problem too, because now she's going to accuse you of being insensitive, uncaring, selfish, narcissistic, sociopathic. So that's the answer, that's the truth. And as I mentioned before I even went into that monologue, that's really not going to help her much, because she's still going to think, okay, well, I understand cognitively what's going on there, but it doesn't help me emotionally. Well, you want me to lie? You want me to concoct some kind of sugar-coated thing to make you feel better? Or do you want the truth? I can either lie and make up some bullshit to make you feel better, or I can do the better option and just be totally honest with you about what's going on. And doing this for a number of years, that's usually what goes on with him. And I want to emphasize again, his love for her hasn't decreased. His respect for her hasn't decreased. His valuing the marriage hasn't decreased. One thing that has increased is her pushing for that original connection, which you distance even more from that. Her message raises your anxiety, and as an anxiety reduction strategy, you kind of pull away. She pursues, you pull away. She pursues, you pull away. And then she views this as abandonment. And then if this goes on for too long, she stops pursuing. And then worst case scenario, the two of you do become just roommates at that point and don't even try to work on anything anymore. But hopefully you'll intervene earlier down the road, and you're here, and you can let her listen to what I just said.
Mm-hmm.